All right, buddy, it's December 1914. The weather has gone bad. We got snow, everything's iced up because I rolled, and well, everything is frozen. So the Germans and the Austrians only had basically half movement, so half movement rounded up, so you got a movement of about two with about everything around here except for cavalry, much might have a movement of, well, still, it's two, maybe three. I guess if you get a five, you round up half. That's two and a half to three. But anyway, it's kind of ground everything to a halt for the Central Powers. They basically just built troops up, railed, and then they kind of advanced a little bit here, over here, built up over here. Now these lakes right here are frozen over now, so those are not obstacles at the moment, nor are the rivers because they're all frozen over. So it's one of those things. So this is kind of quiet right at the moment. Everybody's shivering. Interesting. Serbs are still in the war. The Austrians attacked and had an attacker exchange, and they had a defense of 4. So they had to lose 1 unit, so their best unit disappeared. So now they got a little bit of troops. Still have outside the city, but Serbia is still around. That's the interesting thing. Over here on the Western Front, well, the French are having a hard time of it. Verdun has fallen. The big siege guns and the massive attack that happened here crushed Verdun, and it collapsed under a massive siege gun attack and artillery and infantry, and it was a really good die roll. So they just obliterated Verdun, and then they had an attack over here. They attacked in this area here and took out the French units that were there, and they advanced some units to here, left some troops there protecting their rear, so they have open, but they've split here. The lines have been split here, and the lines have been split here, so we have some openings at the moment in the line. So that can be a problem. So right now we just have to see what's going to happen with the Allied portion of Turn 6, December 1914. All right, we'll be back. All right, it's Turn 6. The Allies on the Eastern Front. All right, the Russians have kind of consolidated their forces right here, moved some few reinforcements into the area to form a blocking line at the moment. But the big thing is that they had built up their forces over here and commenced an attack. Attack. And there used to be a German fort right here. It is gone. That fort got obliterated in an attack. The Russians, well, they rolled really good and took it out. So that fort has been obliterated. And now they're advancing on Königsberg right here. And, well, they're putting pressure on the Eastern Front. There's a lot of Germans that have disappeared right there. And it's hard to say, but maybe the next turn they may go back into the attack again against the Austrians. It's hard to say. Serbs built up. They got a nice little defensive force right now in their last remaining city. And it doesn't look very good for the Austrians to be able to do anything about that anytime soon. I think this is the longest. I have to admit, this is the very first time I've ever seen the Serbs are going to see 1915. I don't think I've ever played a game where the Serbs last in 1915. So that's kind of interesting. All because the Russians put pressure and the Austrians had to pull troops out of Serbia to stem the tide against the Russians. So there is a consequences for things. All right, over here. They continually building remaining forces here, but they did go on the attack right here. Remember that they had that advance that was right here. You notice it's not there anymore. They had a joint attack right here, even though they had a -1, because whenever the British and the French attack together, there's a -1. They don't like each other. They don't like working with each other, but it did work out where they did take out the unit that was there with some casualty. They did lose some troops in the process, but they pushed the Germans back, so they still have a continuous line on the Western Front. For how long that lasts, and with all the pressure that's going on over there, it's hard to say what's going to be happening. Now, I'm just curious about one thing. All right. Let's see here. Weather. All right. Weather will continue to be snow until next time I roll will be March. So we got cold weather. So what that means is half movement. Supply lines are down to 3, which isn't affecting anybody at the moment. And what do you call it? Oh, supply lines only move up by 1. So at the moment, it's not a big issue because, you look over here, the supply lines, the Russians do have supply lines all the way up to where their front line is. And the same thing for the Austrians and the Germans. And the same thing could be said over here on the Western Front too, because supply lines go right up to the front. So that's not an issue. The big thing is that if you do get a breakout right now, it's going to be slow because you're only going to be hoofing it by 2. Because if you're like these guys right here, they're a 5.74. Their movement is, they're actually 5.72 right now. And that 3.33 artillery is a 2 because you round up. Half of that's 1.5, so you round up to 2. So that's what's going on. It's Merry Christmas and the end of 1914. And the war continues. All right, we'll be back.